Hmm. Okay. Um. Maybe if I try. Okay, maybe now it's better. Seriously? Can you hear me? No way. Ah, fuck. That's great. Told you. I knew everything was fine with my mic. It was fine with my computer. It's that fucking Wirecast thing. It didn't work for some reason. I've got no idea why. Oh, great. Let's go. Uh, First, guys, we try PSG Dortmund game. What would you like to know about that game? Because seriously, it was quite expectable to see PSG win for two reasons. First, PSG have better players, and second, um, Dortmund are not a great team away from home. And but two things were pretty worrying. PSG had no real reference in the Champions League with that 4-2-2-2 system. And second thing, PSG were having a terrible momentum, a terrible dynamic collectively. Neymar was in a poor shape. Many players were actually in a poor shape. Our best midfielder, Marco Verratti, was out because of suspension. We had the game without the fans. Obviously, they were outside the stadium, but no one in there. So, and the game before against Lyon, it was very not an appropriate way to play football. It was a terrible game. So, all in all, you know, both endings could be expected. Although I was pretty confident PSG would qualify. So, any question about that game? All right. So, from a tactical point of view, PSG started the game with the regular 4-2-2-2 system. This is what PSG have been using for the last uh, 3 months or so, with the exception of the first leg of the fixture against Dortmund, where for some reasons, probably to protect the centre backs and to deal with the fitness level of the players, as I described in my video analysis of the game, PSG went for a 3-4-3 system. And it didn't work. It didn't work because the players were not comfortable on the ball. The defensive plan was too risky, too out of place, and really inappropriate. And Neymar, in a very, very limited shape, he had to do basically everything on his own. Plus several other problems. Gay having a bad night, really. Mbappe playing out of position because he can play as a central striker, but this is by far not his best position. His best position really is like a second striker or left winger, something like that. Certainly not as central striker at a top level of competition. So these were the problems with the first game for PSG, and fortunately for them and for me, the score was not that heavy. Dortmund, they had many good transitions and they failed to exploit them to create danger. Then PSG scored in the second half to equalize. Although yes, true, Holland scored a screamer 2 minutes, not even a minute after Neymar's goal. Then Neymar hit the post. Thiago Silva's header was above the bar. So it was a defeat, but nothing catastrophic. And Dortmund failed to seal the outcome of that fixture by, spoiling many good situations. So yeah, they didn't take advantage of controlling the game completely. So yeah, in that context, PSG received Dortmund. They hosted Dortmund for the second leg. Back to the normal system. We didn't really know who would start in midfield to replace Marco Verratti, to be completely honest. We know Thomas Tuchel is not a big fan of Paredes. The player was not very used a lot recently. He was not in a great shape. He was not demonstrating 100% of his potential on the field. But it was a real problem replacing Verratti, because Kouassi, the 17-year-old playing for PSG, he is normally a centre-back. He can play in midfield, but he really, like, being 17 years old, the level of experience, the level of, European reference you need to start such a game, it was a bit complicated to having start under Herrera. He was injured, as always. So yeah, it was complicated to start someone alongside Idrissa Gueye in midfield. Eventually, it turned out to be Paredes. He had a decent game. And the most striking thing, really, was that PSG came back to super simple principles of play. Patient in possession. With the regular system, everyone knows, everyone playing in this position. Try to... it was actually super useful having Cavani, not for what he brought on the ball, really, but more for what he brought off the ball. Off the ball, obviously, he would try to pin the centre-backs, meaning you could expect Neymar or Di Maria to have some more exploitable space between the lines, and it was the case on a few occasions, but really, that game, it was more a game of mentality and concentration and solidity, rather than a pure game of, like, beautiful play or offensive play. Really, PSG... At the beginning of the game, they were very much in control. Dortmund was trying to defend their advance, not pressing very high. They were holding, a medium block or something like that. So, controlled the game for the first 25-30 minutes. And then we saw Neymar opening the score. Is it back now? All right. Is it working now? Yeah. Is it working? Can you hear me? All right, perfect. We carry on. So PSG were not super dangerous, but in control, and eventually, the first turning point of the game was Neymar scoring through a corner kick, and that spoke volume about the lack of experience of Dortmund in big games, especially away from home. Because how can you leave Neymar unmarked inside the box on a corner kick and having to dive to score the header? Obviously, the problem was from Hakimi not marking Neymar, but really it spoke volumes about how inexperienced Dortmund were in those moments. So this was the first turning point. And to be honest, Dortmund didn't really have a perfect game, because in the first half, they would have the situations. They basically exploited the same mechanisms. They basically stick to the same plan. As the first game, you try to not press too high, although you try to be pretty aggressive in midfield, and then you try to exploit the transitions. But PSG were they were playing with a better level of control, meaning less transitions. And every time Dortmund had a transition, or either in midfield or deeper in their own half of the field, you would see a good level of control, because PSG had found the right level of compactness they were lacking in the first game. In the first game, as you probably saw in my video, it was like 1-against-1 defense with the 2-3-4-3 systems facing and mirroring each other, meaning meaning space, meaning risk, meaning individual mistakes. Because PSG played with the 4-4-2 system and not the 3-4-3 system, you would see a better level of compactness. Or 4-2-2-2, yeah, Greg, you're right. It's both things, really, because PSG attack in a 4-2-2-2 and defend in a 4-4-2. And this time around, you would see many players involved defensively. Of course, Neymar and Di Maria, they're not defensive experts, but in big games, when you give them a simple mission, block your wing, if you give them, the right level of responsibility and of motivation as well, it for sure they can, they can stick to that plan. And no, Jaime, I disagree with you. PSG don't play in a 4-3-3 by any stretch of the imagination. It's a straight double pivot, 2 offensive midfielders, 1 second striker, and 1 proper striker. With, in general, 1 fullback more offensive than the other. But this time around, PSG's fullbacks, both of them, Bernat and Carrer, they were very careful not to play too high. This is also why PSG were not creating many chances, because they didn't have many players involved offensively to create, that overload and create the offensive situations. But back to the defensive mission. PSG replaced individual marking for something more zonal, collective, a bit more patient as well, because as soon as PSG had scored in the first half, you would see the outcome was different, because starting the game 2-1, Dortmund would be virtually qualifying, 1-0 up for PSG. Now PSG were qualifying because of the away goal, although the aggregate score would be 2-2. But when Neymar scored, PSG were able to defend deeper, to protect the score, to limit Dortmund offensively. And actually, the way PSG defended on Erling Haaland was the right way, because instead of having Thiago Silva in a poor shape, 1-against-1 against Haaland, a machine, a monster, a cyborg, and he was not in his best shape before the game. He missed a few chances in the game against Gladbach the weekend before, but still he was the major threat for the central defense. So all in all, having Thiago Silva fulfilling his mission was something pretty risky in the first game. In the second game, you had a 2-against-1 with Marquinhos and Kimpembe, and especially Kimpembe. He would feel very comfortable stepping out on a big guy like Haaland, because Kimpembe is super strong physically to step out and control players between the lines. Whereas a player like Thiago Silva, for example, he might be doing it, but not for players that strong or that pacey, especially not being 100%. Whereas having the 2-against-1 with Marquinhos, Kimpembe against Haaland, 1 player to cover, 1 player to step out, it was way better for the team and better for Kimpembe as an individual player, because in the first game, his mission was to man-mark either Sancho or Torgan Hazard, and this was more difficult for him because he, against agile, pacey players, players with a more in the profile of an inverted winger, he is more in trouble than with big guys, massive strikers, target men, or just physically strong players. So it's no surprise. For example, last season Kimpembe was good against Lukaku, and I think Haaland is just a better version of Lukaku. So this is basically how the Norwegian player was kept under control. You deny him the space because PSG was defending lower. You try to have an appropriate defender on him instead of having, a 35-year-old out of shape. And just like his whole team, Holland, away from home, he was clearly not playing his best football. So all in all, it was more complicated for him. So yeah, this is really how PSG kept Dortmund under control, really. And I think I have a screenshot of PSG defending at the end of the game. So I'm going to display it to you, sorry. All right. Classic defensive approach. For example, okay, I'm sorry I didn't find the screenshot. I'll try to find it later, but basically what we saw was PSG defending with a 6-3-1-ish system. Something super defensive. It's the first time that PSG away from home, in their home stadium, that they leave more possession to the opponent than what they would do usually. PSG finished the game with 46% possession, whereas usually, whether it is in the domestic league or the Champions League, you see PSG having like from 55 to 65% possession, really, something like that. Individual mistakes. So yeah. Okay, now you can see the screenshot. So yeah, it's basically how PSG tried to at the end of the game. Many players committed defensively and really just protecting the advance, knowing that if PSG conceded a goal at the end of the game, it would just have gone to extra time, half an hour, with PSG being 11 against 10. So it was not too big of a risk. All right. Do you have questions about that game before going to the Liverpool analysis? Oh, MVP of the game. That's a very good question. Well, depends. Bernat was elected MVP by the UEFA, and that makes some sense because first thing, he scored, and rarely do you see a left back like Bernat, pretty offensive, good on the ball, but not like is not Marcelo or something, is not that level of player. It's just a decent player, but in big games, is just on fire offensively, or at least he's always decisive somehow. Let's rewind and have a look at the big games of PSG in Europe. Bernat scored against Napoli. He scored against Liverpool. He scored against Manchester. He scored against Dortmund. It's just crazy. So yeah, you can count on him. And on the ball, he was the most involved player because PSG were building on the left side mostly, where you have all the technical players together. You've got Paredes, you've got Kimpembe, the most useful centre back on the build up. You've got Bernat, and you've got Neymar, and you would have had Mbappe had he been fit enough to start the game. So yeah, Bernat might be the MVP, but I think Neymar was personally because he scored the first goal, decisive goal, changing everything. Although PSG were not super dangerous, he played 75 minutes with the shoulder dislocated. I think in a regular game he would have left the pitch because of that medical issue, but he kept on playing. He ran, I think, 11 or 12 kilometers. He defended. He was not super inspired offensively, but you guys remember Neymar before the game. He was not really 100%, and PSG were not really in a game where the objective was to create and score many goals. So yeah, but for those two reasons, the leadership, the courage, the defensive effort, and the goal, I choose Neymar. All right, another question. Oh, could it's a question in French, but I'm going to translate for all of you. Um, could Icardi have had a great performance if he was in better shape? Yeah, probably. Although I think if you take both players being like not 100%, but 90% of their abilities, I think Cavani is still more likely to defend well, with intensity, to defend deeper, have the right level of commitment, and this is probably something you can't really expect from Mauro Icardi. So yeah, I think given the circumstances, Cavani would have been better all the same, but the this is not even debatable because Icardi recently he's been in a terrible shape, so he was clearly not ready to start and play well for that fixture, basically. Yeah, exactly. He gained a lot of weight. Icardi right now he's pretty fat. So I'm going to show you a screenshot, a picture of Icardi right now, so you can see how he's doing right now. All right, give me a second. I just try to find it. Okay. All right. So now, normally you can see the current shape of Icardi. And his physical and mental shape right now is the reason why he didn't start. Although you got to remember that at the beginning of the season, Tuchel didn't really want to play with Cavani, first because he was in a poor shape, but most importantly because Icardi was on fire. He was doing his best, off the ball defensively. Technically, he was super reliable. Every time he touched the ball, it would be something positive would come out of it, and he was in a very good state of mind, very motivated, serious. Whereas right now, what you can see from Icardi is a bit, well, yeah, exactly, one season wonder one. He's been eating basically, so yeah. Yeah. So there is the evidence. It's not about like Tuchel not liking or something, but yeah. Right now, I think you understand why Cavani started and not Icardi. All right. I've been asked the MVP of the losing team. I don't know really. I might talk about the worst players, but MVP, maybe Hummels. It's typically the kind of game where you can expect him to be in trouble against very very good forwards because he's pretty older now. He suffers from a lack of mobility, but all in all, he was never really put in trouble by Neymar or Mbappe when he came in, or Sarabia. So yeah, I just think Hummels was decent. He was alright, but I was super disappointed by Hakimi and by Sancho because you expect a lot from them. You expect the energy, the creativity, the danger. I never thought that Hakimi, it was a wonder, a crack or something, but I thought it was just a decent player doing simple things, attacking, providing the energy, providing the pace. So, so yeah, I expected a bit better, and the first mistake Hakimi had in the first half, it was decisive because PSG scored on this action, and this is clearly accountable for him. So clearly, it was the worst. Probably with Sancho as well. He didn't create a lot. He didn't have the same impact. Yeah, it was not there. They're good players, but that night against PSG in that context, with PSG defending way more and way better, you could see the limits. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for PSG against Dortmund. We're gonna talk about Liverpool now. Alright, guys. Questions? Because the game was super simple to analyze. Atletico defended. Liverpool didn't score enough. And Oblak was on fire. Why did Liverpool only cross? Alright, yeah, the thing is that Liverpool cross a lot. They do. This is like their basic way of attacking, having the wingers tucking in, playing vertical. Although they try to have more possession these times, but the way they attack is pretty pacey and vertical, and they just flood the box with crossing through Robertson, through Alexander Arnold, through oh, I can't remember the name, through Oxlade-Chamberlain, outflanking and crossing. So yeah, this is how they did really. And if you consider their first two goals, if I'm not wrong, it came through crosses. The first with Wijnaldum and the second with Roberto Firmino. So yeah, Liverpool is a crossing team, and the more they have to score, and the deeper the opposition is defending, the more they have to cross. But really, in terms of defensive know-how, I don't think you can make better than Atletico to defend those crosses, really. So just something I write to remind everyone: Atletico just defend well against crosses. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the Icardi image. So yeah, the lack of efficiency offensively was a problem for Liverpool, because I want to insist on that. They were playing very well. They controlled Atletico Madrid for 90 minutes. They didn't concede a lot. They attacked pretty well. They created chances. They, of course, it's difficult to score against Atletico Madrid, especially in a European night, because the thing is, right now, since Simeone has taken over the team, only a team led by Cristiano Ronaldo has been able to knock them out. So yeah, this is just fact. Only Ronaldo can eliminate Atletico Madrid in the Champions League recently. Oh, what do I think about Jordan Henderson? He didn't have an amazing game, but I think I was thinking he was being alright. He just Henderson doing basic Henderson. He was not having the best night of his career, but he was not catastrophic. Fabinho, you got to remember, although I prefer Fabinho as a player, and more especially in that position, Fabinho has been in a very poor shape recently. So I'm not surprised Henderson started over him. So I don't think that was a major point of that game. I think the key for Liverpool was not converting. And I also think they had a mental breakdown at the end of the game. When Atletico scored, right after the Roberto Firmino's goal, they thought, all right, this is over. We are not going to make it this time. I really do. I think they were playing well. They were not converting enough, but being 2-1 with Firmino's second goal, they might have thought, oh, all right, we're going to qualify, but no, I think they lacked a bit of focus, a bit of intensity, and really when Llorente scored the first goal, it was it. Liverpool was out, and it was pretty clear from that first goal. Llorente repositioning. So yeah, this is really a moment where you think coaches know football better than us. When you saw the substitution with Atletico Madrid having to score a goal, and you see a midfielder coming in, you might have thought, what the hell? What the hell are you doing, Simeone? You've got to score. What are you doing? But that midfielder ends up scoring 2 goals with the help of the goalkeeper. Let's be honest. Had Alisson been in goal for Liverpool, the ending would probably have been, something different. So, I don't think it would have been more difficult for Atletico Madrid with Alisson in goal, but I'd like to say that miracles are not miracles when they happen always with the same team. And Atletico Madrid have been, very, very good right now. For many seasons, they've demonstrated how to play European football, and that makes me think of a question I've been asked earlier. You Oh, all right. Yeah, about Mohamed Salah. Yeah, I think Salah is not the best, finisher there is. He doesn't have the cleanest finishing. Always, it doesn't always have. It doesn't always demonstrate that pure level of regularity. But I think what happened is that with Oblak on fire on goals, that was more difficult for him to handle the situation mentally, and that's typically what we saw at the end of the game. When he tucked in on his left foot, he cut inside and tried to score it with his traditional second post finishing. He tried something too difficult, probably because Oblak was on goal, and when you've got the best or one of the best goalkeepers in the world against you, you try to leave him no chance because you don't need a good shot to score. You need a very accurate shot, and with Oblak on goal, it was way more difficult for them to score, and because of that, they tried more complicated shots. So I think that was it. But you got to remember, Oblak, out of 11 shots, 9 saves. But it's not forbidden to have a good keeper. I want to insist. Having a good keeper and counting on him is part of the strategy as well. When you defend deep against such a good opposition, you are going to concede shots. It's impossible to never concede shots or chances. But you do count on your goalkeeper. That's it. Any other question? Sadio Mane, he didn't have a great game, but I think it was pretty alright, Again, Liverpool was playing well. They just have, first, during the vast majority of the game, they had a problem to convert the chances they created. And secondly, they broke down mentally. They collapsed mentally, during the extra time. So, yeah, that's it. Can Atletico Madrid make it to the final? Yes, they can. It's not sure 100%, but I think that makes me think of a question I've been asked earlier with, do you think Atletico Madrid is playing like anti-football or something like that? No, I just think they are playing their own style of football. And I'm not, I try not to be too judgmental with people playing this brand or that brand of football. You can play excellent football on the ball. You can play excellent football defensively, having less possession, being a bit more simple and playing simple football defensively. But the way Atletico Madrid play football is the way you should play football in Europe when you want to defeat teams that are better than you. Because again, Liverpool are a better team than Atletico. But if you can defend with that consistency, that precision, that know-how, that intensity, that ability to never commit individual mistakes, why would you not defend that way? So, anybody can win the Champions League this season. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Obviously, I don't think Leipzig or Atalanta are going to make it against tougher oppositions. But Juventus might win. PSG might win. Well, they might not. Yeah, I don't think Lyon is going to win because they're not having a great season, and I think the first leg was more with Juventus missing their game rather than Lyon being brilliant or demonstrating the ability to go further in the competition. But yeah, it's going to be, well, it's difficult to predict the winner this season. Um, I think um yeah, I think Bayern Munich are playing the best football right now. But it's not because you play the best football, as we say, that you are going to win eventually. Yeah, it's very open. It's very open. I don't know. I think Napoli might defeat Barcelona. It's not over. It's not over. I think Barcelona, they're going to win La Liga, but I think they're going to lose either this round against Napoli, but or this round or next round in the quarterfinals, because they don't defend well enough, and I don't think Setien is ready to prepare the team in in such a high level of competition. So you know how many are we? Yes, they have Messi. They have Messi, but Messi doesn't bring, and no player can ever bring you 100% guarantee of winning games or winning competitions. Otherwise, Barcelona would not have been humiliated the way they were those previous seasons in Europe. So Messi is a part of the solution, and obviously he is Barcelona best player. But it's not because you have Messi that you are guaranteed victory. Do Liverpool need Coutinho back? No, I don't think they do. I think Coutinho was playing well at the time, but the intensity Liverpool put right now in their play is not suitable for Coutinho. So that's the first part of my explanation. And second thing, you don't need a player like Coutinho when you have Firmino playing as a false nine and not only putting the intensity but also giving you all the creativity that you need offensively. So yeah, I don't think I'd put Coutinho back in the team right now. No. Can PSG win the Champions League? Yeah, sure. Sure we can. Um if the team is playing well with uh, every individual putting 100% into it, it's possible because when you've got Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria, Icardi, Cavani, Verratti, Marquinhos, Thiago Silva, Bernat, of course you can go far. It's just that PSG need to play European games. They need to always show a good level of control, like the way they did against Dortmund. What's the point of having Messi and chucking away second leg games because of the defense? That's true. Barcelona need to work on the defensive side of things. do you think Real Madrid can beat Manchester City? I think they can, but seriously, they might. But I think City is going to qualify. Real Madrid playing the way they do this season, it's very interesting, but I think they lack a bit of goal scoring, of goal conversion. Benzema right now is in a very poor shape. He doesn't score a lot. Isco doesn't score a lot. Bale doesn't play very well. Doesn't score a lot. This is the biggest problem for Real Madrid right now. Real Madrid scoring issues. Yeah, that's it. You can play perfect games. You can defend well. You can press well. You can put the intensity. You can be coherent and well prepared. If you don't score in big games, or if you don't score at all, you're going to be in trouble. And so that's my biggest point right now. And Real Madrid don't have Sergio Ramos for the second leg. So yeah. Alright guys, I've been live super long, so last few questions and then I'm off. Real Madrid need Haaland. Yes, I think they do. They do need someone like Haaland or Mbappe, a big game player, and someone who provides the goal scoring. As simple as that. And since it's Real Madrid, they need an elite player, not someone like Mariano. They need someone like Mbappe or Haaland. All right. Sancho or Werner for Liverpool? Yeah, maybe. You never know. They're interesting profiles, but do Liverpool really need them? I don't know. You should add a way to donate next time. That's true. I'm going to find a way. So you guys, if you want to, of course, you might support me, support the channel with a donation. So that's going. I'll try to fix for next time. Can we consider Simeone a genius? Yes, absolutely. I think he is one of the very best coaches for European games. The preparation, the tactical side of things, the level of motivation he is able to provide to his players is just unbelievable. And I think Atletico Madrid right now, they're not being the best team in La Liga for many reasons, but when it comes to the European stage, they're one of the best teams by far, especially given the budget. You got to keep in mind that Atletico Madrid, they have a solid budget, but nowhere near PSG, Liverpool, Barcelona, City, Bayern Munich. It's like not 100% weaker or smaller, but something around it. I think Atletico Madrid have 300 million, something like that, when bigger clubs have 5 or 6 or 700 million. So that's a massive difference. But because of the way Simeone is preparing the team, they can really face the biggest oppositions right in the eyes. Seriously, that's amazing. Thoughts on Leipzig? They're a great team. They're very well prepared. I like their 3-4-3 because it's super rational. The way they play, it's super meticulous, super sophisticated. So of course they might lack the talent, the experience, and the how do you say that? The consistency to go further in the competition. But right now they're super intense, super interesting. So yeah, I like the way they play. I think Nagelsmann, he is in the right position right now. Because of the way he's always, twisting and trying new things every game and demanding a lot from the players. I think he is more, is like a scientist or something. I think he's better in a club like Leipzig rather than Real Madrid, for example. When do I do this again? I don't know. I'll try to do this regularly because obviously most of you in Europe would be quarantined. So it's just, trying to spend some time together and I'm trying to develop new things as well. Yeah. All right, last question, and then I'm off. Thank you for being there, guys. It was cool. I'm sorry for the sound issue. It was the first time I was using the software, trying to broadcast something. So yeah, it was a bit complicated. Say something in French. Non, non, c'est mort. Je parle pas anglais avec vous. I'm going to stick on English language. Last question. There aren't many questions, guys. Keep asking. I'm going to pick the most interesting, or the one that interests me the most, at least. Where am I from? I'm from Paris. What do I think of Allegri? I think he is one of the best coaches around here. And again, he might not develop the sexiest football to win the league week in, week out, but you can count on him on biggest games. He is seriously one of the best coach. And I think he has a very provocative personality, so many people don't really like him. But the way he works really is super interesting. And I love this coach. I wish PSG or another big club could sign him and appoint him as a manager, see what he can do, outside of Juventus. Yeah. Outside of Italy. Why can't Simeone figure out a solution against Ronaldo? Because Ronaldo is unstoppable in the Champions League. As simple as that. What else? Am I a PSG fan? Yes. Yes, I am. As a Parisian, I'm a PSG fan. It's common sense. How old am I? I'm 23 right now. Am I a manager? No, I don't manage teams, even on a very humble level. That's not something I do. I just work as a video analyst. Who's better between Leipzig and Atalanta? Ooh, good question. I think they're similar teams in the way they play intense and sophisticated football, despite being, a smaller side. I still think Atalanta might win over Leipzig in the context of the Champions League. Yeah. Can PSG win? Yeah, of course. How many outbreakers have you got as a PSG fan? Too many. And to be honest, you never really heal from that. It's like when France lost the final to Portugal in 2016. Although we won the World Cup 2 years after, it's impossible to heal completely from your worst defeat. Do you take a manager course? No, I don't. I don't plan on being a manager right now. Maybe in the future, in like 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows? Thoughts on Inter Milan, and this is going to be the last question. Not really a question, but during the quarantine, I'm going to make a video analysis of Antonio Conte's Inter Milan. and I want it to be very complete, very well made. I don't know if it's going just, like regular video analysis or voiceover, but hopefully it's going to be a good video. So yeah. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry for the sound issues. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm definitely going to develop that side of thing. So yeah. See you later. Thank you. See you. Cheers.